by working with a team that is really well oiled in the custom design and development scheme, you're really taking a lot off your plate as the client.
Welcome to Duo on Air, where we help you get seen, remembered, and wildly obsessed over by your audience. We're your hosts, Abby
and Courtney, a pair of ex-agency besties who ditched the cubicles, the Minneapolis skyways, and the corporate jargon for work that matters, with people who inspire us every day. Today, we're a women-powered marketing agency serving brands worldwide, bringing those big agency results without the corporate price tag.
Around here, it's all about what actually grows your business: branding, SEO, websites, and navigating the real-life ups and downs of building a dream while raising tiny humans. We're moms, wives, and best friend business partners in the trenches with you, making the hard stuff feel easy and a whole lot more fun.
So pour a fresh cup, get comfy, because you're exactly where you need to be.
Let's duo this. Welcome back to the Duo on Air podcast. This is episode number 214, and today we're diving into a conversation that we honestly don't hear talked about enough. We are bringing one of our agency partners, Lindsay, the founder of Made to Thrive, onto the pod. She runs a custom development agency building fully custom-coded websites on platforms like Shopify and WordPress for brands, influencers, and growing businesses. And we have had the opportunity to collaborate with her on a client project recently, and it opened up such an important conversation because there's a big difference between custom design and custom development. And if you're scaling, if you're feeling the friction on your website, if your website is feeling held together instead of built to grow with you, well, then this episode is going to click. Today, we're going to break down what website development actually means, when templates and just front-end design are not enough, and the signs that it might be time to invest in something fully coded. Because sometimes it's not that your website is broken, it's that it was never built for the level that you are at right now. So let's get into it. Hello, Lindsay. Thank you so much for being on the Duo on Air podcast. We're so excited to have you. So I can't wait for everyone in our audience and listening to hear from you. We've met a few months, half a year ago, maybe-ish. I don't know. Through a client, which is amazing.
Yeah,
and
early last year,
it's
I feel
just,
like.
yeah, I'm just so excited to talk about this topic today because I think there's so much out there on design and development and the difference between the two when it comes to building a website. And so this is something that I think we are constantly, and we were just talking about this before we hopped on, we're constantly educating our own clients about the importance of each and when each matter. And that's kind of what we wanted to dig into today. So, but let's start first with your agency because you have an agency too. And the beautiful thing is I think our two agencies have complemented each other so nicely, which is why I'm so excited to just share and rave about your team. So why don't you tell us a little bit about Made to Thrive and how you built it and got started?
Yeah, okay. I think you actually lined me up with a perfect segue into describing yourself because a lot of people don't realize that there is or can be a difference between a designer and a developer. And initially, when I got started, I've been in this industry for 15 years now. Made to Thrive specifically is coming up on its 11th birthday. And when I first started, I was doing both. I was doing design and development, and I loved it. And I thought that's where I was going to stay. And as the first several years went by of freelance work, I realized I was really only excited about the tech part. I was really only excited about the coding part, and the design part felt hard and draining for me. And I went to a conference, and one of the mentors there kind of pointed out to me, hey, there's a lot of people who love design. They don't want to do the tech part. They only want to do the design part. The fact that you love the tech side of it and you're a female, that's the gold. That's the direction that you need to dive into. And she said, what if you just did that? What if you partnered with designers, with a lot of designers, and just did the part that you love? And then you really have experts that are in both lanes, and you don't have to try and be good at everything. And it really changed the whole direction of my career. And that's how Made to Thrive started, is I was literally cold pitching designers saying, hey, do you need a developer? Do you need someone to code your site, to bring to life a theme? And several people said yes. And I ended up working with designers and through them finding these amazing clients. We now have clients that come to us organically, kind of finding our sites. But for the most part, we're really working with designers who already have these amazing clients that maybe started on a template or started on a different platform, and they get to the point where they really need a development team. And that's where we kind of get looped in. So it started with just me about 11 years ago, and started with just a few designers. And over the last decade, we've worked with, oh gosh, I think we have got 20 to 30 designers kind of in our circle. We've slowly grown the team. We are an all-female tech team, which is really cool. I actually didn't intend for it to be that way. Whenever we were hiring, it was more so who's the best fit for this spot, but it ended up being females and moms, and we're just a really cool, unintimidating bunch. I think we make the dev side of things way more approachable than maybe other tech teams. We're not scary to email. We're just girls that happen to be awesome in tech. And so that's kind of what we do and what makes us different from a lot of tech teams and how we got introduced to you.
I think it's like so, I mean, it's so inspiring for other people just even to know, like, you don't have to do it all. Like, I think when you think of like a marketing agency or a website building agency, like whatever you want to call it, like you feel the pressure to do everything under the sun. Like, okay, well then I have to be an expert in design and development and SEO and social media.
What is that saying that's like, when you're an expert in everything, you're actually an expert in nothing? I don't think that's right, but it's along those lines, right? It's something
so true,
like that.
Yeah.
It's so true.
And then it's like, if you don't love it, it becomes really hard to sell yourself and market it and like build on it. And so I think when you can lean into what you really love, and Court and I have had this like evolving throughout the years too, where like there was a certain point where we were doing social media strategy because we thought we had to as a marketing agency. And we just were like, I hate it. Do you hate it? And she's like, I hate it too. And I'm like, let's stop.
You don't have to.
I know. So I think that's awesome and also like, I feel like it's so natural to grow like with like-minded people. Like you said, like we're just girls and moms, and we're just like, we all jive together. And then with that, you get a really good product out of it.
Totally.
So that's awesome. Okay, so let's talk like in really plain terms, because I think people do get really confused on like what's design and what's development.
Yeah.
So if you were to break it down, like I always love using the like, tell me like I'm 5 office quote of like, what? If you break it down, how would you explain that to someone when they're thinking of like, okay, I need a new website or I want to update my website? What's the difference?
It is confusing because unless you're in this world, in this industry, you probably don't know kind of what are the two different roles and where does that line cross over. So the way I most explain it to literally everyone, my family, because even they think, oh, Lindsay designs websites. I do not design websites, but you just don't know, right? So I find the most helpful analogy to be when someone builds a custom home, right? They need an architect. You can't have a home builder building without the architect, without the plans. So in this analogy of a custom website, your designer, your web designer is going to be your architect. They're going to mock up a proof of exactly how the whole site is going to go, what it looks like, the navigation, all the elements of it. But at the end of the day, it's just a picture. It's a flat picture. You can't, when an architect builds their prototype for the house, is that even what it's called? Prototype. Anyways, when they build that, you can't move into that. You can't live in an architect drawing, right? You got to have your builder come in and actually build the house. So for us, we are the builder. We're the construction crew that comes in. We have the full working model. Every piece is already decided. It's already beautifully laid out, but it doesn't work. It doesn't do anything. So we come in, we're your builder. We build the theme and the site from the ground up. And then it goes one step further than that because, so say you have your brand new custom house. What if something breaks, something isn't working? You don't call your architect, right? You call your builder. They're with you. I mean, maybe not for the whole life of your home, but they're with you for that support that you need as you're fixing things, as things need to change or break or, you need fixed. So that's the same thing with our clients. They come back to us when they're like, hey, we want to add this on. Hey, this is glitching. Your tech team is really the core of who is going to take that journey with you day in and day out, where the designers, they do pop in from time to time, right? You need any new marketing materials, you need a new page added. Maybe you're starting a podcast. You want to add this whole new section to your site. But your tech team, we're there for the daily ins and outs. We're there for the maintenance. We're there for the support questions. And when your business gets to a certain level where it needs that level of dedication, where you need to separate that design and development piece, that's typically when clients would come to us.
Mm-hmm. And I think like, especially for small businesses, entrepreneurs, like whether you're just getting started or even if like you're looking to upgrade your website after, 4 or 5 years being in business, I think a lot of times we think about the platforms. We think about like, oh, Squarespace, Showit, Wix, WordPress, like wherever I'm going to be. And a lot of times we think about the platforms and we think about the template, which is like, a lot of times these platforms, right, they do the dev for you. They do because it's all built into,
which is a great place to start. Honestly, I often tell inquiries and people that I get on calls with, you don't need custom development or you don't need it yet because it is for a specific type of business and a specific place in your business. Because a lot of times a template is the right place to start. That is a great cost-effective place to kind of figure out where you're going, what you need. It's very rare that I would tell somebody with a brand new business, you need custom development. It's not going to be the right place to invest your money from the start. Whereas branding, getting your brand identity, that's where you should put your money from the start. Put it on a website template. These templates are great. Like Squarespace, Showit, even a basic WordPress template, like if you're a food blogger getting on Feast or something like that, those are amazing places to start because they're well built, they're easy to use, and they're going to structure you well from the start. Now, when those stop working for you, when you get to a place where you outgrow that or it can't do what your users or what you need it to do, that's when the bells start going, maybe I actually need some custom work here. But the templates are a great place to start. And actually, I would prefer someone to start there versus jumping right into custom. And then they get 2-3 years into their business and they're like, I didn't know what I needed yet. I didn't know what I needed it to do. And now I've invested all this time and money and you feel stuck. So yeah, on the platform topic, I think sometimes that template option is the right place to start. And then you kind of grow from there and come to the custom development side when you need it.
Yeah. What are some of those signs? Like you said, there are some signs when it's like you've hit that point of like, this isn't working anymore. What do you see most often or what?
I think a big thing is, and this is maybe backtracking a little bit with the last question, but a lot of times when you're just starting out, you don't know what platform you should be on. And so most of the times that people come to us, they have started on Squarespace or Showit because they're easy to get going, right? They're easier and less intimidating to start. And so a lot of times clients will realize that they're quickly outgrowing the capabilities of that. And so our team primarily is a WordPress platform team, and we can get into that in a little bit, but The reason we are is because the capabilities for custom design on WordPress are it's just limitless, really. WordPress is great at indexing so much content. So say you're on Squarespace or you're on Showit, really everything's going to be either a post or a page. Those are kind of the two options you get. And the URL structure of that for the SEO side can get really messy. You can have all of these pages that are maybe actually services or recipes, or they aren't quite a post, but they aren't a page. What WordPress does is it blows the lid off of that. We can have as many post types as you want, and all of them are going to be indexed very cleanly with SEO on the front end, meaning you're going to have an archive for them, you're going to have post pages for them. They're all going to follow a really friendly URL structure. But even more so, it makes it so easy to manage the content on the back end because everything's organized in a really great way. And then for us as developers and for designers, it gives you just limitless options of how you want to pull all that content and how you want it to play together. So say on your homepage, you want all of your shop products pulling in, you want all of your blog posts pulling in, maybe you've got podcasts coming in. You can organize all of this content in a way where on the back end, it's super structured, super organized. And when you're creating these pages, you're just clicking this, and it all pulls in from all these places. And we're taking this really complex thing from a strategy perspective, from a development perspective, and we're making it easy. We're making it easy for our clients. We're making it easy for the users on the front end. And it's just not possible on other platforms. It's not meant for that. So WordPress specifically is meant for high content sites. It's made for content creators. It can also be made for not content creators. It can be made for service providers that also want to dig into their blogs to multiple service offerings, sales pages, right? But anybody who has a really complex content structure, there really is nowhere else to be except for WordPress, unless you're e-commerce, but that's a whole different conversation.
Yeah, right. I think the level of content that you have, like the second it gets confusing, like in terms of like if you feel confused going to your website of like how do I articulate everything I have in a really easy way to my audience, and the second that starts to feel confusing, it's kind of like that's a sign that you've probably outgrown a template that you are trying to make work. And so I think we've felt that with clients for sure, where we've come to situations where it's like, yeah, you've outgrown Showit. Like it probably can't serve you to the point that you need anymore because you need something that's more custom.
Totally.
And I think that, so like what you were saying too, where like making it easy. I think that's the biggest misconception with WordPress.
Oh, yeah.
Is that people think WordPress is really complicated, and I think it can be.
It's
when
with
you're
custom,
using like page builders.
with any custom site, that's the misconception, right?
Yeah.
We're fighting against that it's too rigid, not drag and drop, not fast to load, not easy to use. And there's some truth to those, which I think is why it is a common thing that we hear, because WordPress 5 years ago, it was different than it is today. I was there. We've been in this for a while now. It is night and day different now because of the Gutenberg editor. We now have a drag and drop visual editor similar to what you would see on Squarespace, on Showit, on these other easy platforms. WordPress has now joined that world of being a user-friendly drag and drop platform while still having the powerhouse content capabilities. And for custom themes, we now are able to code with that in mind. So whereas it used to be page templates, you might be seeing code sometimes. And yes, it's really beautiful on the front end, but it's probably slow. It's not optimized. That was how it used to be. And so I think we're still kind of fighting a little bit of this. And some development teams, don't get me wrong, they're still doing that. Ours is not. And a lot of teams have come over to embrace this full, amazing new version of WordPress to where you can have the best of both worlds and it can be really, really easy to use and really intuitive, which a lot of people, they don't even realize because if you saw it 5, 10 years ago, you're like, nope, I'm not messing around with that.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I think that is like the biggest thing we hear is WordPress is too difficult. And I think that's like the biggest thing I want people to take away too from like, and one thing we learned with working with your team is that you're not using a page builder. Like I think that's what people
WordPress
think.
is a page builder. People don't
Yeah.
realize that now. It didn't used to be, right? Like WordPress Gutenberg, you don't need Cadence. You don't need these heavy block builders, Elementor. You don't need it. WordPress Gutenberg is that now. And that I
Yeah.
think a lot of people don't know, right?
Yep. Yeah, I know. And that's the biggest thing because they probably had a WordPress website or they were in WordPress, but they're using that like they're using what Element, Cadence, like Elementor.
Yep.
Yeah, there's like so many different kinds. And we've been from an SEO perspective, we audit everything. So like we'll go in and update everything. And I can't tell like, yes, I have been in every kind of WordPress website and they all look different.
Yeah.
And it's wild. But I think that's where people forget like there is a more custom side when you have a developer, not a designer.
Yes.
And I think that's the difference is like understanding what website design is that's using something that's already pre-built and developed with code on the back end. And that's a designer. And that's what we do.
Yeah.
Like we do design. And yes, show it does offer like custom code, but we can't control the full code. Like we can't control the full structure of what's happening on the back end.
Yeah.
And sometimes, like you said, you don't need that level of detail. But when you shift over to needing it, now you need something that's completely custom on the back end.
And and one thing that we do also just to further make our clients feel really comfortable is providing a literal Loom video training of their site because it is scary when you're like, if I update this, am I going to break everything? We'd never want anyone to feel that way. Your WordPress site should be able to where you can go in, edit what you need to confidently, create new pages, like really build your site and take ownership of it. And it shouldn't be difficult. And so just like furthering that, we always make it a point to individually go through and just record a video and say, hey, this is how you navigate here. It doesn't have to be scary. You're not going to break anything. Use it. We want you to use this. And so just kind of empowering our clients that this is your beautiful new site. And yes, it's custom, but it is so flexible and it's created in a way to give you longevity. Except you get the beauty on the front end of a beautiful custom design that looks completely different and looks like you. When someone lands on your site, they're not on a templated site. They are on a site that is fully built around your business, your brand. Everything should look like you from the second that they land there.
Yeah, and I think that is like there's something so beautiful about that from the design side is that even like the client that we're working together on, it's like of course there are some guardrails, but there have been a few times where I'm like, can we hop on a call because am I like going way too out there right now?
Abby, I think the guardrails, especially on this type of site. So the project that we're working on right now is well established content, which we see a lot. We recently did the Chris Loves Julia site, and I'm very proud of that site. But wow, when you talk about established content, there is a lot. And what we're doing is trying to maintain all of the indexed SEO, right? Because we don't want to mess up anything that this client has built. But at the same time, these clients are coming to us on these page builders, on these really kind of patchworked themes where maybe they had 4 or 5 different developers all kind of had their hands on it over several years. And what our team is then doing is, okay, we need to untangle everything while still keeping all that they've built in place. And that's where it gets tricky. And that's especially where you need a development team in your corner, because then we can still say, hey, go crazy on the design, do whatever you want on the design, dream it up. But we've got to keep X, Y, and Z in place in order to keep this site performing and structured, especially with an established site. If it's a newer, less content heavy site, there's a lot more wiggle room. Something that's has thousands of posts indexed, you got to know what you're doing before you dive into that one.
Yeah, right, for sure. And it's also like, it's cool, the opportunities to bulk fix things as well. Like there's
Yes.
so many, like even from an SEO perspective, it's like we come across websites that have an enormous amount of content and no traffic. And it's like, well, you got to fix that
Got to
because
fix it.
something's not working. And so that's the beautiful part about custom, but it really does give designers freedom to design without being like, well, we can't do that because this isn't gonna work.
Yeah.
Like that, there's just no capabilities, or you leverage that and you're adding so much custom code that you're making the website so heavy. And then
Yes.
that becomes the problem. I would say, like, I see that a lot from the SEO side of things when working in platforms that you can't control the full code
Yeah.
because now you just are adding on top of it and the layers
It
end
gets
up
so
bulking
bulky.
and weighing it down. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, okay, question for you on AI, because I feel like this is something where, like, I have no idea how this affects things from development. Like, we see everything and talk about how it affects things for SEO and for, like how people are searching and showing up and like all of that. But in terms of like development and what you guys do, has it been like changing in your world
Oh,
in a good or a bad way? I'm
absolutely.
curious.
So I think AI is a hot topic, right? In every industry, in everyday life. Our
Yeah.
team, I think, first started really talking about it in 2021, probably, and started being like, okay, this is here, this is happening. And it wasn't so prevalent as it is now, but this was right when ChatGPT was kind of making a um, break onto the scene. And we were like, okay, we've got to decide how we're going to approach this, because a lot of teams were just being like, we're not doing this. We're not. And we quickly realized that in this industry, if you don't adapt to use it for your good, you're going to die, for lack of better words. Like, your business
Mhm.
has to adapt, because AI is not going anywhere. Whether we love it or hate it, it's not going anywhere. So our team kind of took that approach from the very beginning of like, okay, well, what can it do to make our lives better? And we've been implementing it really ever since into our processes. So what it's been really great at, and this is so development specific, but when we're in there on, line 2032 of code, and we forgot to put a semicolon, and our entire theme breaks when we're coding this in a pre-development site, we used to have to go through, where is that break? Where did we miss that one semicolon? No, we don't do that anymore. This is so nice. We've got our handy AI while coding. It's flagging everything. And it's fantastic because it really can quality check our work. It can also make all of our processes faster throughout our entire project on the admin side, all the way through to the post-launch checks. So when we're checking for speed, things that might be errors on the theme or on the client content, we can quickly scan and diagnose and fix what's wrong in a way that we never used to be able to. So that alone has moved our process way faster. Now, what we kind of thought it was going to do was make it so that, we're really just custom coding these sites in a day, because we're just telling it, hey, do this. That has not so much been the case. We've been able to use it as a tool, but it has not yet even come close to doing what a human eye can do. It doesn't see or think through these really technical items that you really have to lean on experience in order to solve. And so there are times where we've had clients say, I really want to implement this into my site, and it's super easy. Here's what ChatGPT said. And we're like, yeah, that sounds really good. If we were to implement that, it would break everything. Please don't do that. Like that does sound good. And in theory, it sounds really simple. It's our lived experience and what we know tells us otherwise. But what we can do is use that, okay, that one part they suggested, that's gold right there. Yeah, let's see if we can use that and then weave it in. So we definitely use it literally every day in all of our projects and everything that we do. But in a way that it's made us more efficient, it's also made everyone an expert, which has made things exponentially more difficult. Sometimes I miss like 5, 10 years ago when we didn't know what we didn't know. These days, we know a lot about what needs to happen for accessibility, what needs to happen for SEO, what needs to happen for page performance. And we have metrics to check all of those. And they're all really important. But the amount of work that adds for anybody who has a website, not just custom development, templates, we all know, okay, now we've got to do all of these things and meet all of these metrics. And so, yes, our process overall has gotten way more efficient. Now, it's also has twice as many things that we need to think about now as we did 5 years ago. So AI is helping and also just bringing to light things that no one even knew about, and so our process has gotten way more in depth. But at the end of the day, I think that you do need to be using AI in whatever way it can make your life easier, whatever that looks like for you, because it's not going anywhere and it really can make a huge change in your daily processes for literally any business. Like it will apply anywhere. But at this point, we're still kind of, the robots are our assistant. At some point, I do feel like that's going to flip. But intern, there we go. Intern.
Yeah, we say interns. I love that approach. Like that's how we approach it for everything too, is like it's your intern. It can help you with like brainstorming keywords. It can't tell you what keywords actually show up on Google because every single time I ask it, I go look at that keyword and it has no volume.
Yeah.
And so it's like it's smart enough to get you started, but I mean, same thing, like even I'm sure it makes everyone feel like a quote unquote developer because it will write you code.
Yeah.
And like I have been using it I am not a developer, but I use it to help me write schema for websites. And like that, at least there's a validator to check that and make sure it's right. But I can't tell you how many times it's wrong.
Yeah, it's so true.
All the time.
It's so true.
And I'm sure like a developer would look at it and be like, what an idiot. Like, why did it write that? But like, I don't have that lived in experience that you guys have of like, that's not how code should look, or that's not like, this is way too long. Like that's even things with page speed where minimizing JavaScript is like a huge thing that almost every website needs.
Yep.
And unless you understand how to do that, like
the easiest way to break your site is by activating all of the minification, but it's needed. You're right. You can't hit those core vitals without it. So yeah, it's tricky. I think a lot of what we do is taking that off of our client's plate and just being like, yes, here's what we're going to do here. This is what we need to do, XYZ. It doesn't have to feel overwhelming. We've got you, because it is. The more you know, which thanks AI, the more overwhelming it is, because especially in the tech side of things, especially with how fast things are changing, it's impossible to keep up and still do what you do as a business owner. You can't do both. It's really hard.
Yeah, right. It's like ChatGPT just made us all experts in whatever we want to be experts in, but
it's a hype person, right? Sometimes I'm in there, I'm like, be mean to me. Don't tell me all my ideas are good. No, what do you really think about that? And I'm like, I think ChatGPT is making a lot of people feel like they can do anything, which love that. But also
the confidence boost.
But also some things are very technical and there's more to it than makes it seem on the rundown.
Right. Oh, for real. So I'm curious and we've talked about this a little bit for like other projects that we've partnered together on, but I'm curious your take on website, like because you had mentioned, so after you build a house, if you have a problem with your house, right, you reach out to your builder because they're the one that's going to fix it. So how should people, because I see this all the time from the SEO side of things where there's a lot of clients who are paying for website maintenance,
Hmm.
but it's like actually it's almost like website maintenance has like this bad taste in people's mouth where they're like they pay for something or they can't edit their website or like I don't know, it's just like the ownership feel of it, because I think there are a lot of just like there's a lot of bad SEO agencies out there that do SEO monitoring and I see people pay for it and get nothing and it's like heartbreaking. The same kind of thing happens on the web design side. So
Yeah.
like what is your approach for when someone has a custom built website? Like when do they need maintenance or like what should they consider for like post launch? Like what do they need support with?
Yeah, so with WordPress, it's its own breed because WordPress has plugins, it has core updates, it has all of these things that you need to keep updated, or you're going to set yourself up for glitches, malware, bots, things like that. And it can sound really scary and overwhelming. It doesn't have to be. Once your website is set up, just once a week, log in, run your plugin updates, run your anything that pops up that says it needs an update. Do it carefully, one at a time, of course. But if you have a well-built theme that is on WordPress, you shouldn't have to worry about your site going down. Like that shouldn't be a thing. We offer a kind of website maintenance for all of our past clients, but that covers those important tasks. So we're talking daily backups, weekly plugin updates, scanning for malware or any breach of your site, uptime monitoring, that sort of thing. Those are kind of just basic ongoing tasks that you're going to have with a WordPress site. And a lot of those you're going to have with any site. But those are very important. Beyond that, our clients really don't need us for much because their websites are really flexible. You're just going to go in and post your content. So really when they do need to come back and loop in a developer or a designer is when they need to add some whole new big phase 2 to their project, right? Like I said, they're launching a course or a podcast or a merch line, something bigger. That's when they need us. Of course, there are some times where it's like, oh, this plugin glitched, but with the themes we're coding, we're doing our best to not use any plugins unless the client wants them or they're absolutely needed. So it shouldn't happen often. It is rare that we're troubleshooting a glitch. And usually if we've caught it and we can send it out to all of our clients. Hey, this is a really easy fix. And there's not a ton that goes into it these days. Used to be different for sure. But yeah, and then I think if for
Do
clients
you
that want,
recommend
okay,
auto updates?
I don't. I don't recommend
Because I
auto
think a
up.
lot of people enable them, like
Yes,
just auto updates all the
everyone
time on
on
them.
our maintenance plans, we have that turned off because
Okay.
there could be one little thing that gets pushed out that it can make things look wonky. And so, yes, you can auto enable them. However, it doesn't give you control over noticing when those happen, right? Because you don't know when it updated for you. So when we're going through updates, we're taking a backup before we update. We're running the updates. We're checking the front end to make sure it looks good. And then it's a safe way to do it because if it doesn't look good, you can either roll back the plugin or relaunch your backup. All of which, by the way, we educate our clients on doing so that you can do it yourself. It's not scary. It sounds big and scary. It is so simple. It's an ABC process. You can have a virtual assistant do it for you. But yes, when you have auto updates enabled, you're running the risk of something going wrong and you don't maybe notice it for a week and you're like, oh, when did that happen? And what plugin was that updated? Makes it a lot harder to troubleshoot. So if you are going to have auto updates enabled, make sure you have an activity log or an activity tracker on your site. That's a whole other conversation because those can get bulky in itself. They're going to add a lot of kind of just logs that maybe are needed. But yeah, that's really the only downside there is that
Yeah.
makes it harder to
I think
track.
that's also really a really interesting thing too, because a lot of times when you don't have a developer or you haven't built a custom site and you are leveraging like a certain template to work with you, you need plugins to solve the problems that you can solve without needing that plugin. So it does
Absolutely.
eliminate, yeah, it
Absolutely.
eliminates a lot of that.
Yeah. And
That's
then
nice.
just to kind of capstone support, there is also kind of how we have designer, developer, there is a whole third party, right? There are teams that do support as their main thing that they do. They've got really incredible in-depth teams and processes that are going to keep your site beyond the theme with the whole WordPress core, everything in mind. They're going to keep your site stable, updated as new things come out. All of your core vitals and optimization checks are being hit and they're being adjusted as new recommendations come out. That is a whole different service. So for a while, our team was also doing a little bit of that. But it gets to a point where if you are really serious about hitting these long-term performance goals, you really do need a proper support dedicated team to come in for that. So we do have a partner that we use for that are fantastic. And so, yeah, so it's kind of on a case by case basis on what a client needs. If you're on the smaller side, you don't have a ton of content or you don't have a really intricate database, you probably don't need that. But if you do, there are tools in place to make your life so much easier and on that support front. And we always kind of guide our clients through that process of where they fall in that lineup.
Yeah, and I'm sure, and we've talked about this before too, like certain industries, like you're in security, you're in insurance, you're in healthcare, you're in something where privacy is like a whole lot more
Yes,
important. And in those instances, yeah, you likely do need to make sure that no one's coming after you and like you're not having to deal with certain hacks and like someone's monitoring your website on a whole different level, which again is like very unique to specific people. So.
totally.
Okay, tell me, what are some of your favorite projects you've built? And maybe like some
Hmm.
custom features or something where like someone brought you a problem and you were like, yeah, we know how to build that.
I think honestly, at the stage of business that we're in, everyone is coming to us with a problem because if they didn't have a problem that they needed fixed, they would probably use a template. Like it's very
Mhm.
rare that someone comes to us just because they want the aesthetic, just because they're
Yeah.
like, I want this beautiful custom design. Most of the time, they're coming to us because we have an issue that we can't figure out how to make our lives easier. So, um, I mean, I mentioned Chris Loves Julia. That was probably our biggest, most massive untangling. And just getting that site, they've got all sorts of content pulling in from all these different ways and getting it to feel very usable, really on the back end too. Like the things that their team was having to do to try and post and there's a lot of content. We just really cleaned it up for them, and so that was a big undertaking that we're proud of. Their shop alone, which is an affiliate shop, is wildly organized. It is so cool. And we get a lot of people. They're like, I want that type of shop, and I thought, okay, but do you know how much goes into that, how much organization, how much time, how much their team does just to kind of get that outputted. But we made it so easy for their team on the back end and just kind of reshaped the whole way that they're uploading and pushing that out. And it looks beautiful. So that's like the cherry on top, right? I think a lot of what we do is in the food blogger and affiliate influencer type space and just kind of knowing how to organize their content. So for recipe food bloggers specifically, they've got hundreds, if not thousands, of posts, and they all need to be able to be filtered and pulled from by season, by category, by ingredient, by all of these different things. And in order to make that easy to categorize on the back end, but also easy and fun to view on the front end, is an art. It is really well done. And then on top of that, to have it be easy to use and beautiful and also structured properly, that's a whole other conversation. So our team has really dug into just this past year. Okay, what do we need to be doing specifically on the SEO side of things? What do our designers need to be doing in order for this to not just be beautiful, not just be easy to use, but really perform? And those are things that, again, it takes a lot of experience and it takes the right people in the right places. Some big launches we've done for food bloggers recently would be Kale Junkie. Talk about a site that is outside of the norms. Like most food blog sites, you land on them, they look like a variety of the same, right? They look pretty similar. We are making our clients stand out in that crowd so that when someone lands on that site, they're grabbing a recipe, they remember where they got that recipe from because it doesn't look anything like anyone else in their industry. And it can be done, and it can be done well if you have the right team in place. So yeah, we have some really cool, I mean, I could go on and on. We've got 250 plus active custom sites right now for the coolest clients. And they all had a unique need, which is why they came to us. When I'm getting on an inquiry call with someone, I'm never talking about the same thing I talked about with someone else because they're completely different. It's, hey, how do I set up this sales page course and have it convert? How do I put my recipes behind a paywall without it tanking my SEO? There's really interesting conversations that are being had, and a lot of times the answer is, this is a first. Okay, let's see what we can do. Let's problem solve here, which is pretty fun because we're not churning out these templates that all look the same. We're working with designers, we're working with people that have SEO and UX strategy and saying, this is a really unique thing. Even this project right now that we're working on, Abby, there was a lot where we're like, okay, this is where we want to make it easier for the front end user to get where they're going here. How do they find these guides? How do they find things that apply to them locally? And kind of brainstorming that and putting it into a fully custom site. It's different every single time, which is so fun for our team, fun for your team, right? And it's, so no project is the same. And that was a total long route of getting to what some of our favorite projects were. But
no,
how do I pick?
Yeah, I think
they're all my children.
I don't know how to pick. It is hard.
They're my babies.
I gave you an impossible question. I know. I think so. One thing people might be wondering too, like we obviously know how we've kind of worked together with this client through the process. But a lot of people might be wondering, like, okay, so how do I do it? So I can like share a little bit about like how we've worked together.
Yeah.
And I'm also curious if you've worked in different ways, because I know you've worked with a lot of different designers, but specifically for us, we worked with this client to rebrand, like starting there with a new fresh brand that really resonated with like bringing the brand into where it should be today. And then from there, we do UX strategy and SEO, because obviously making sure like the flow of everything is thought through.
Has to be.
And then bringing in design.
Yep.
So that's where then we were able to like flat design everything, which again is able to, you can really bring in the custom side of things, like being able to actually just dream up how this website can be designed in a way that makes it feel easy and beautiful, but then communicating with your team along every step of the way to make sure, it fits in with the client's scope, it fits into the back end structure of what you guys want to do, that it's even possible, like all of that kind of stuff. So doing all those flat designs, and then like where the project is right now at the time of recording this episode is with you guys in development.
So good.
And then it comes back to us for SEO optimization at the end.
Yeah.
Which has been such a seamless, fun process. And I think a lot of times people are like, okay, so if you just do development, then like, what do I do, with the design side of it. And so I think this has worked out really seamlessly, like starting with brand, UX, design, moving to development, moving back to SEO, and then to the beautiful part of publishing.
Yeah, it can be a really well-oiled collaboration. It doesn't have to be, okay, now design is done and now it's development. It ideally is development and design from start to finish, because they're really needed at every point for doing checks on each other to make sure that each of our individual experiences are contributing here. And SEO, of course, in the mix too, from the start to the end. So when we are starting a custom project, the best place and time to loop in development is at the very beginning, because we want to be able to be looking at those designs and saying, hey, that's amazing. It looks so good. Make sure you're adding this here. Maybe you need certain things on your recipe card. Maybe your sidebar needs certain things. We have known and been in the trenches of what performs and what is needed, and also what's above the fold, because if we can't optimize it, we would love to call that out before the client falls in love with the design. So the best place is when the designers loop us in right from the beginning. We're providing real-time feedback, and never in a way where we're limiting what they can or can't do, but more so saying, hey, here's something we want to flag, take it or leave it, and then same thing, once we're done with development, we don't want to just push it to the client. Before it even goes to the client, we want our designers looking at it being, is this pixel perfect? Is this exactly how we imagined it on that flat design? Because when it gets to the client, we don't want them looking at, is that font off, or is this not right? Because that's just creating a whole mess. So by working with a team that is really well oiled in the custom design and development scheme, you're really taking a lot off your plate as the client, because you're just focusing on what you actually do and trusting that we're going to have everything in place and that we're going to bring you in when needed for those checks, but we're not wasting your time with things that you shouldn't be doing. That's why you're hiring a really well-established team, right?
Yeah, that collaboration is key. I mean, there were plenty of times where I was like, can we share the designs with you before we share it with the client? Because that is really important. Like, let's make sure that we're not sharing something that isn't possible, or, putting something on you that isn't possible, and vice versa. Like, I think that collaboration is such key. And like you said, the whole point is like, you've hired experts to handle this for you so that there's less work for you to do, and the outcome of the website that you're getting. So I love it.
Yeah.
Well, is there I feel like this has been so good, and I think this is going to inspire people, whether they're ready for like this next level, or just knowing that there is a next level. Like, there is growth beyond where you're at, which some people might never need it, like you said. And I think there are plenty of people who do need it and don't even know that this is an option.
Yeah.
So
absolutely. I think my final thoughts would be, one, don't be afraid of, if you chose a platform that is not the right platform that you should be on, don't think, oh, well, I've already been here for 5-10 years. It's going to be way too hard to switch. Don't be afraid of that, because we can move you. We can move you to WordPress or Shopify or where you need to be. So just get started. Just get your website up. Use a template. Use what makes sense for you. And then when it's time for you to grow into that really custom next level of your site, the right team is going to be able to get you there and move you off of that. So don't feel like you're stuck if you've been doing something one way and you're like, well, it's going to be way too hard. You're fine. We've got you. You can move wherever you need to be. So keep doing what you're doing there. Shoot, I just lost my second point that I had because I was so excited about the first one.
I know, right?
Dang it.
I also think another common reason why people don't reach out is they're so concerned that it's going to cost them $100,000 to build a custom website.
That's what I was going to talk about. Well, I was just going to talk about monetizing your site. That when you come for a custom site, one of my very first questions on any inquiry call is going to be, how is this making you money? How are we going to monetize this for you? And how can we specifically put that into the strategy? Because I'm not in the business of taking someone's money for fun. Like, I want to know that this site that we're building and we're all collectively pouring ourselves into is going to get you that return on investment and then some, right? Like, I care. I truly care about that. And it's so important. So yes, you're going to invest quite a bit into a well done custom site. That's part of it. However, 100%, you should get that return on investment and you should get that quickly. And that's what we have our clients see. And so we talk through the specific ways development wise that you're going to see that return on investments through brand partnerships, through affiliates, through just how your site is structured UX wise, how we are driving that conversion, whatever that conversion metric is. So I will say, yes, it's an investment when you get to that point, but also it's not one taken lightly, and when done well, it is going to be so well worth it for you with that return that we're not ever worried about that when a client starts working with us, because we're digging in. We're going to figure out how to make that worthwhile for you. Yes, that was what I wanted to say.
And that is the whole point of finding like partners and people that care about your business.
Yeah.
Like, I think you know that the second you hop on a discovery or an inquiry call, whether the team that you are going to partner with actually cares about you or just wants to take your money. Like,
Yeah. Oh,
and it's
100%.
usually so good. Like, go with your gut.
Yep. Go with your gut. Absolutely.
I know.
I love that.
Okay, so where can people find you and engage with you online
Yeah.
just so that they can follow you afterwards? We'll make sure to put all the links in the show notes too, so that
Love
people
that.
can go to that.
We're at madetothrive.com is where you can see more about us, more about our portfolio, how we work with clients and designers. And then we're also on Instagram sometimes.
Right.
We're there
that.
sharing when we can. And a lot of our clients, we have good combos there on Instagram. So that's at Made to Thrive. But yeah, I mean, honestly, if you ever just are unsure, do you need a custom site? Send me an email, hello@madetothrive.com. It comes to me. It comes to Lindsay. Some people don't know how to spell Lindsay, so send it to hello. It'll still get to me. But just let's chat. I am such an open book. I get on initial calls and emails with people who are like, I don't need you yet, but I might, and I want to know what I can do in the meantime. And so if that's you, reach out. I am easy to talk to. I'm not intimidating. I'm not going to say, oh, you should have done X, Y, Z. I'm a big on relationships. And a lot of times I've built a relationship and a friendship with someone who doesn't become our client for 5 years. And that's great. That's kind of the world that we're in. And you're going to be ready at the right time. That might be now. It might not be now. But at the same time, let's hang out. Let's chat. Let's be friends. Send me an email.
Connections, relationships, all of that
I
matter
love it.
so much.
I agree.
Like, especially in the small business world. Well,
Yeah.
thank you so much for
Thanks
sharing
for having me.
everything. Yes, this has been wonderful.
It's time for a refill. Thanks for tuning in to another episode of Duo on Air.
If you loved hanging out with us today, here are 3 quick ways to support the show. 1, subscribe so you never miss a new episode.
2, share this episode with a biz bestie and tag us on Instagram at duo.collective.
And 3, leave a review because we love hearing from you.
Finally, keep sharing your episode ideas. We love creating content for you. Head over to duocollective.com to catch up on all the latest episodes, brand and website makeovers, SEO tips, and so much more.
See you there. Let's duo this thing called business together.